Hello everyone, Tabitha here. As you can see, I got a new Meeden easel. Meeden was so nice to send me an easel and some of their hot pressed paper, which is one of my favorites. As you can see here during the unboxing, there is lots of little pieces, and yes, I did put some of them together backwards, forwards, and all sorts of ways, so I had to do it a couple of times, although it probably for most people is a lot easier than something from IKEA. Later on in the video, we'll go ahead and do our experiment of oil over watercolor, and I am very excited to show you what I found out. I haven't worked on an easel or with oils in a very, very long time, so this will not be a completed piece of art today, but we will have a great time doing our experiment. As you can see, it is quite easy to put this easel together. It's made very securely. It came packaged extremely well. And I was really, really excited when they said they were going to send me one. The easel comes in, it's all separated pieces and little bags with all the hardware. And it kind of blocks the putting together where you put like this one chunk together, then the next chunk together, and then the following chunk together. And you basically bolt the 3-4 pieces together, as you can see me putting in the few little bolts. And you can see it completely glides back, and ta-da! It's all put together. It really only took me about 45 minutes to put it together, and that was with me not putting all the pieces together exactly the way that they were supposed to. And if you can see, it folds completely flat, so it's great if you have just a little bit of space like me, because I'm still in my makeshift studio, and it folds completely flat. And here is some of the watercolor brushes and the hot press paper that I will be using today. And I am going to use Core paints. And here is my Core paint palette. We'll be using quite a few colors from here. And basically I am just going to really wet the page in a minute. And we are going to make a really nice background. So I'm going to speed through this part a little bit, and you'll see me put a whole bunch of colors on and do a kind of a drip process. It's been a really long time since I've had an easel to where it's been upright, so I could let the paint completely just drip and experiment with that as the background. And here I am wetting all the paper, getting it nice and saturated. And we'll get up some nice colors, and then I will actually flip it around and let it drip from the other side as well. So I'll let you enjoy for a second. You can see I'm just piling on the color, letting it really, really drip and saturating it completely, and kind of trying to make it look like a background or maybe a little bit of a sky area, blotting off a little bit where some clouds would be. And then we're going to flip it upside down. Of course, I had to let that wait and dry. It took quite some time because that paper was just dripping wet, obviously. And then we're going to go ahead and do a little foreground here. Get some greens in there, and then I'm going to do some viney type textures all over. When I drive down the roads here in Arizona, I see these orange flowers, and they're kind of really crisp and really prominent around the area. And so that was my inspiration. Now, I've never seen them actually close up, so they're kind of along the sides of the roads and everything. So this is just kind of my quick interpretation for this experiment. as kind of something in the background, like if you saw some kind of mountains or sky and you see these orange flowers just popping out of nowhere. I felt that my head was in the frame quite a bit, so I thought I'd wave there and say hello. And I'm gonna start putting in a couple of dots of orange in like a vermilion type color in the background. And yes, you get a really great picture of the back of my head. I am terribly sorry about that, but I was really having a lot of fun with this, so I wasn't paying too much attention to actually the camera. And if this video was full length, it would probably be around 5 hours long. So I really kind of sped up quite a bit of this because I just sat there for hours and I was just playing, seeing what the paint would do, spraying it and all sorts of things and having a great time with it. Now that we have our background all done, I'm going to seal it actually with Dorian's Wax Medium. And I'm going to put one kind of medium coat across the whole picture. And this, because I didn't want the oil. The problem with putting oil directly on top of the watercolor is not affecting the watercolor, but it's affecting the paper underneath, that it would get really kind of bogged down with the oil and you'd see the oil ring around the colors. So I'm hoping this is a preventative for it to basically be able to go on top, still keeping the matte feel of the watercolor and then the glossy oil paints on top. So this is where the experiment begins. So yeah, I put on a really nice thick coat of the Dorian's Wax Medium, and I'm sure you could use like a clear matte fixative of all sorts, probably about 2 or 3 coats of those to make sure that it was completely covered. But this was something that I had on hand. And we're going to be using the Duo Holbein Aqua Oil so that I can just keep cleaning my brushes in water so that I didn't have to switch and get solvents out and everything like that. I thought this would be perfect. Now, I haven't painted in oils in probably, it's got to be 15 years. So, and I predominantly used to paint in oils, and I've gotten so used to watercolors now that it felt really different and really awkward. So this by far will be no masterpiece, but we will definitely see how the oils sit on top of the wax medium on top of the watercolor. Right here, I'm just feeling the paint. It's been so long since I had the actual feel of oils in my hands that, I was just trying to feel how I'm going to be using like 5 different brushes, and the flower will look not not a masterpiece by far, but I just wanted to try a whole bunch of things and get a ton of paint. And I kept watching the edges to see if I got that oil ring around the oil color against the actual watercolor paper. It probably looked better here than later, but I was having so much fun just feeling the oils through the brush and how slick, and having so much fun with it. I just kept adding paint and adding paint and adding paint. So you'll see it go through about 3 different intervals here of layering, and obviously with not having dry time in between. Now these dual oils, I did feel that they dried faster than what I remember oils in general to dry, and that could just be because they have the extra additive where you can wash your brushes in oil, and the cleanup did work beautiful for that. I basically put it in my pail of water, swished it around, wiped it on a tissue, did it another time, and the brushes were completely clean after using the dual Holbein dual oil color. So, and I'm just continuing with kind of the reds and yellows and mixing it all together. And you'll see me exchange a couple of brushes in the near and just goop on more and more and more paint. Oh, I knew I was pushing the flower too far, and I knew I was going to have to stop soon. So you'll see me in a second go ahead and start putting a stem in. And I have to say, the stem painting portion part is probably my favorite on this painting. And I do really love the way that the oil looks against the matte watercolor. It's something that I always had in the back of my mind. Hey, you know, I should get out the oil paints. I should go ahead and do this experiment. But I love how the stem, like, I started getting my flow going here a little bit and kind of feeling of the paints since it had been so long. Well, the stem came out so cute. I thought I'd give another whirl at the at the flower part and try another brush and go ahead and get even more paint on. And I start kind of dabbling it in all sorts of things to create texture and smoothness, and then texture again, and then smoothness. And yeah, I was having a ball, an absolute ball. Yep, I added about another 5 layers, and I am just about at the point of calling it and saying, okay, the paint is just way too wet, so there's nothing more that I can really do at this point in time. And I was dying to see if the oil seeped through the back of the paper. So I grabbed the painting down, put it under the overhead, and let's get off this tape. We're gonna find out whether or not the oil seeped through that wax medium and through the paper, and if I would need maybe another coat of the wax medium, or if I would definitely have to do the spray sealant on it in the in-between coats on that like fixative or working spray. All right, let's see what we got. I am really loving how the shiny bits are against the matte of the watercolor. I am looking at it and I'm really admiring it. And on the back, you can see that there's like a halo of where it is, but it didn't completely seep through, and there was no marks on the front of the paper that led to any type of like fingering out of the oil or like seepage of the oil on the paper. So I was really, really pleased. It was a complete success. I think if I would have let the wax medium dry for a little bit longer and put a second coat on, or use, like I said, a spray fixative, I think that either one of those methods would work. And I really, really liked the effect of how the contrast is between the matte and the glossy. And of course, I really like the stem. I really appreciate Meeden for going ahead and sending me the easel and the hot press paper so that I could do this experiment. And it was really easy cleanup with the Holbein Duo oils. And I used the core watercolors on this. And the hot pressed paper by Meeden was really good. I had always really, really enjoyed this paper, and I was extremely, extremely impressed with how it held up. You can see there's no rings on the paper. There's no bubbling to the paper after I did all of this. I'll give you a closer look of that in a second. It's not buckling after I soaked this paper and then soaked it and then soaked it. I think I had to wait about 3 or 4 hours in the in-between the soakings just so that the paper would completely dry out in order for me to do the heavy runs again the opposite way and so forth. And then to wait till it dried to put on the wax medium, and then go ahead and wait for that to dry a little bit until I went ahead and tried putting the oils on. Now in this picture here, the oil is still wet, and you can see how it's kind of shining, and I just love that effect though. I think this would be great for like water scenes or something that you really want to pop out from the frame. Yeah, really good experiment. Not the greatest of paintings, but really good experiment. Thank you so much for joining me, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.